What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined by my main man, Steven Thompson. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers, we head into week 3 of organized team activities. Plenty to talk about, plenty of action left before minicamp and then the break as we head to Latrobe for training camp. Meanwhile, everybody is talking about the quarterbacks and some very interesting stuff when it comes to Justin Fields, some possible packages that he can be included in. And, well, quite frankly, if there's a quarterback competition at all, we're going to dive into all of that, plus the name that we're watching as we head into OTAs week 3. It's been a beautiful weekend here in the Berg. One more week of OTAs left. How you feeling, my friend?
Feeling good. I think I've fully recovered from Kenny Chesney mania, and so I'm ready for another week of OTAs, ready to get back on the field.
Yeah, that's good. You said that was your, you were telling us before the show, that was your first ever concert. I think everybody watching would be like, damn, that's a, talk about a breakthrough right there. That's as good as it gets for an initiation. Your thoughts? How was, you going to go to more? You going to go to more concerts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to 2 more later this summer. So I'm excited. I was just never a concerts guy. You know, if I was spending money to go to like a live event like that, is usually a sporting event of some kind. It was never, they were never really concerts. Just weren't what I was interested in. But after getting my first taste of it, you know, I'm definitely going to be going back for more.
Yeah, I would highly suggest concerts are. I mean, I'm a concert guy. I'll go to live music all the time. I feel like once you get it, especially stuff like, you know, country concerts, the most underrated thing.
Yeah, man. Great vibes. It was
nothing like it.
Well, just everyone knows like every bit of that music, you know, like Kenny Chesney is just, well, and also, I mean, the reason I was there for real was Zach Brown Band.
Yes.
One of the openers. That's who I really wanted to see. And they were just as good too. And I knew all those songs. So I was so hyped sitting there. And I'm way up in the nosebleeds, but it was still just awesome. Like looking out in the crowd, seeing the entire place full and everyone rocking along to it. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was, it looked like a good time. Did you see Russ come out, hand the jersey, dap up Zach Brown Band, who, and then did you see the picture of Kenny Chesney and Russ afterwards? Because that one shocked me more to know that Kenny Chesney is somehow shorter than Russell Wilson.
Right. Tiny dude. That would really stun me too. That was, I don't think I could have told you what Kenny Chesney looked like off the top of my head, but after seeing that picture, I was pretty stunned. Like we were really surprised when we saw Russ in person for the first time, and he's shorter than he does look on TV, but man, Kenny Chesney is even shorter than he looks on stage, on TV, whatever you want to say. He's not a big dude.
No, not at all. It's kind of crazy that the city of Pittsburgh, in a matter of a month and a half, has started comparing what is your height. The guideline for height on whether or not you are tall or short is Russell Wilson. That is the benchmark here in the city of Pittsburgh moving forward. There is plenty of quarterback conversations to be had, and we're going to dive into 2 big ones. The first one comes from over the weekend. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler has said that he's spoken with a number of NFL teams, another number of NFL executives, coordinators, so on and so forth, talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback competition and what is going on. And, well, the NFL has some pretty wild expectations for what the Steelers are going to do with their 2 quarterbacks, and more specifically, Justin Fields, Quote, Russell Wilson's undisputably the quarterback number 1. He's not splitting reps. However, I've talked to multiple teams who expect the Steelers to utilize Justin Fields as a runner and passer in the goal line. Think 8 yards and in. Arthur Smith, the new offensive coordinator, used Derrick Henry as a quarterback/passer when he was in Tennessee calling plays. So why couldn't you use a guy like Fields with his big time ability? Everybody and their, Russ talked about it last week. Everybody is talking about these crazy packages when it comes to Justin Fields and Russell Wilson and what it can mean and how they could utilize it. Let's ask this. Let's start with this. Would it work? You're 8 yards in from the goal line. You make a quarterback change. You send Justin Fields out there, who's potentially like the second most athletic quarterback in the NFL behind Lamar Jackson. Is that something that if you're an offensive coordinator, you're thinking, we got a pretty good shot to get in there from, let's say, 8 yards in?
Yeah, I think it absolutely could. It would challenge Justin's accuracy when he was throwing the ball.
Yes.
I think that's a big question about him. And you back a defense up into the goal line situation, that makes it a lot harder on you as a passer. But I think the possibilities you have to run running plays from, 8 yards, 5 yards in or whatever are pretty insane when you think about Justin Fields and one of or both of Jalen Warren and Najee Harris in the backfield. There are just so many combinations and so many options that you could play off of with three talented and powerful runners too. That's the thing. Like Justin Fields has some speed to him, but also he's got a big lower half that he can use to push the pile forward. So I think that could work as well. I think you add just one more threat down inside the goal line like that. That makes everything that opens up some stuff for you. It's as simple as that, really. I think this could work. It could be something that the Steelers look into just because Justin is so versatile. He is so athletic. He'll have a couple nice red zone threats around him that I think could support him and help him make some plays there. It's an interesting idea. I don't know if he's exactly Derrick Henry, but I think that Justin could be pretty valuable down there, just because he has such a versatile skill set and he has so many guys who could help him out and make life easier for him down there. That I don't know what you do if you're a defense and you see imagine just a 2-back set with Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, and the ball's going to Justin Fields first. You just run 3 different fakes or whatever, and then you give it to whoever's the better path, I guess. But putting that many rushing threats in the backfield at one time is going to stress any defense, no matter who they are.
Yeah, I agree. Could you imagine like a triple option, Najee, Jalen, Justin Fields out there, and then you have like George Pickens lined up wide, obviously a threat for a jump ball, and then you put like Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington out there. Boom, there's your set. I mean, you got options. You have Pat coming around the back. Darnell just literally turns around, just, hey, you want to throw it to me? I'll probably catch it. Sounds good. I'm taller than everybody here. And then George in the corner of the end zone. I feel like it could work. I feel like it could work really well, actually. And to be honest with you, I think it could work with Russell Wilson too. Like, I think that's the thing is all this does is open up the possibility for the Pittsburgh Steelers to start playing mind games. And that works. Like, there's a lot of people that look at this and say, you're going to get fancy and it's not going to work and blah, blah, blah. No, like, look at the Kansas City Chiefs offense. And I know that is such an extreme example, but it's the best example because it works more than any other offense. A lot of times they do almost nothing crazy, and then they come out with crazy stuff, and it plays mind games. Like you're as a defense, you're going, what's going to happen? We have no idea what to expect. That's how you beat a defense. That's how you win the mental side of football. I think having 2 quarterbacks is almost never a good thing. I think if you could utilize them in very rare packages like this, it works very well. And then it opens up the door of like, oh, okay, well, Russ is out here now. So like, what's going to happen? Because we know if Justin's out here, we know what's coming. If Russ is out here, we don't know what's coming. It keeps people on their toes. Whereas you watch the Steelers for the last 3 years and, you get within 8 yards and you're like, okay, I don't think this is going to get into the end zone. I hope it does. Their options are very limited. So I think it creates distractions and confusions for defense, which when you're that close to the goal line, that does crazy amount of work in helping you actually score touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly. It's just one more thing for defenses to think about. And, you see this all the time, whether it's like, making a certain lineman eligible or not, whether it's, putting guys in motion. Like, this is all the same stuff. It's putting in a guy like Darnell Washington to give you a jump ball threat somewhere. I mean, football is all about making your opponent look one way when you really want to go to another place. And I think that's all that this is. And we're in we're in June right now. But June. You can afford to experiment with these kind of things. Yes. I think this is stuff that we can think about at this point. When you have so much time leading up to the start of the season, you have a lot of time to play around with stuff, to see what you've got, to explore all your options as an offense. And I think it's perfectly fine for the Steelers to be looking into this stuff, especially because I think it has some legs and I think it could work.
Yeah, I agree. So let me ask you this question. Do we think it'll happen? Do we think that come the season, you get in there, they get to the 8-yard line chances are you're not breaking that out week 1 unless you have to, but you get into a tight matchup with Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Kansas City, whoever. You think at some point during the season, we're sitting up in the press box and Justin Fields walks onto the field on the 7-yard line. We're going, oh, okay, what's going on right now? And then he's obviously comes off afterwards.
Yeah, I do think we'll see it at least once. I'll say that, but I don't think it's going to be a regular part of the offense. I mean, you're just not going to spend most of your weeks taking carries away from, Najee Harris and Jalen Warren on the goal line. You're not going to put the less accurate passer in regularly for plays in places where, tight, accurate passes are going to need to be made.
Yep.
But I do think you see it at some point. I think, it's feels rudimentary, but Justin Fields is just way too talented to spend an entire season on the bench. He's going to be involved in some way, somehow. And I think this is the lowest, not the lowest stakes, but this is probably the easiest place to use him. In a third and short situation, or a goal line situation where he can use his abilities as a runner. You could put an extra blocker into the run game. That stuff's incredibly valuable. And I think Justin can really make somewhat of an impact doing that. So I think you see it a little bit. I don't know if it'll be regular, like you said, because this can all happen with Russ too. Like he's I said this last week, but I think he's a much better athlete than people are giving him credit for. I think he can still run decently well. So I don't expect Justin Fields to be a regular part of the goal line offense, but I think it would be smart of the Steelers to at least try it out, because there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think that you look at this and there's no way that you could keep Justin Fields sidelined all season. I think there's a difference. You talk about talented quarterbacks and having two quarterbacks, so you don't have one quarterback, and I think all that makes a lot of sense. I think it changes when you have such a phenomenal athlete as that backup quarterback who has the potential to be a quarterback. If it was Justin Fields could run, he couldn't pass, it's over. There's no point in putting Justin Fields out there. And if this was Justin's going to play 50% of the snaps, you don't put Justin out there. But if you're going to put Justin Fields on the field, I don't know, once every other week, once every third week, that's not bad. Like you could make that happen. Even if you do it, 3 times in 1 week, and then you take 2 weeks off, and then you just never know if it's there. I just think that opens the door for potential without causing issues. And that's the line that you want to walk. It's a fine line. It's certainly a fine line. But if you could utilize it and step on the right side of it, it just creates so many more possibilities. And just like you said, Justin Fields is not, I think you look at this and people say like, oh, well, Lamar Jackson, his rookie year, he wasn't ready to be on the field. They tossed him on the field and it kind of created some late in the season. People will compare to, I don't know. I don't know another quality backup quarterback that you'd probably put in there to split reps or whatever. But Justin Fields is not one of those guys. Justin Fields is a starter in the NFL. He's a guy that you're looking at long-term, but already has the franchise quarterback kind of mentality, has already filled that role, even if it didn't work out. So you're looking at a guy that he needs development. He doesn't need to sit on the bench and just like somewhat waste away. You want to see what you have in this guy. You want to utilize him. It's the same thing as if you brought in a Cordero Patterson. It's a guy that, yeah, he's not starting on your offense. You have no plans to start him on the offense, but from time to time, you're going to utilize him because he's a good talent to have, and he's a veteran, and he's an added bonus to your offense. And I think that's where we are with Justin Fields. Again, it's a fine line to walk. If you could walk it correctly, I think it does nothing but good things for the Steelers offense.
Yeah, absolutely. And Justin was a luxury when they traded for him.
Yeah.
He wasn't something that the Steelers absolutely needed after they got Russ, but you have this luxury here. Don't waste him.
No.
There's no guarantee you're going to get him back for another year, so you might as well just use him however you can right now. And I think this is one of the easiest ways for the Steelers to possibly get him involved in the offense and make something out of this year with Justin Fields.
Agreed. Let's talk about the quarterback competition as a whole. Everybody wants to talk about it over the weekend. Diana Rossini saying, oh, there's not a real quarterback competition. Everybody's talking to Caboli said there's almost 100% chance that Russell Wilson plays this season and Justin Fields does not. It's June 3rd. Do we think there's a quarterback competition where we sit right now? And I think the bigger question is, do we think that there's a quarterback competition come July when we get to Latrobe, when training camp's a real thing, and when we see these guys in full pads and they're really starting to gear up for the season?
Yeah, so I have a little bit of a theory that they will not try to force a quarterback competition, but they will maybe make one where there is not at some point in training camp, just to kind of see how both the guys respond.
Okay.
I don't think there will ever be a serious push from Justin Fields to take Russell Wilson's starting job. I just think Russ is the safer option. Russ is the veteran, more reliable. I think he fits really well in the offense, and I think they're very dead set on him being their starter, at least for week one. But I think they're gonna do what Mike Tomlin said. They're gonna give Justin Fields a chance to show what he's got. And I think we're gonna go through the rest of OTAs, and it's gonna be pretty clear that Russell Wilson, is the better guy, the better option. I think that's gonna be pretty apparent, just as I would say through the first 2 weeks. But I think once we get to Latrobe, there's gonna be a day or two where Justin Fields is taking some more first team reps, where he is, a bigger part of that starting offense and does get a chance to see what he can do with George and Pat Freiermuth and Najee and Jalen and a first team offensive line. Whether those couple days actually lead anywhere is an open question. I don't really think they will, but I think they do want to see what Justin can do in the starting offense, do it with all that personnel and see if there's any kind of spark there. But I don't think there's going to be any meaningful competition. I think this is Russ's job to lose. There'll only be a competition if Russ does not look like a starter at all. I guess I would say.
Yeah, I like that theory. I like that they will try to push these guys, because I think that works both ways. Like, yeah, it gives our Justin some confidence and the ability to kind of see what he has. And I think that's very important for the Pittsburgh Steelers to go into the season with some understanding of what they have as the future option of their quarterback position. That's what you want if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the only way to get that is to give Justin meaningful reps at certain times. Like, you could say, oh, well, he'll get quarterback reps and starting reps during the preseason. Kenny Pickett looked good in the preseason. Everybody looks good in the preseason. It's hard not to look good in the preseason. I mean, you could go back. Every quarterback looks good in the preseason. You want those reps in training camp. You want those reps when TJ Watt's running at you. You want those reps when Joey Porter Jr. is the corner that you have to throw against and Minka's out there. And that's where you want those reps. I think you could give those to Justin and feel confident that he could grow without, like you said, making it a real quarterback competition. Just kind of see what you have in this guy and hope for the best. And meanwhile, it does, I think it's twofold. It allows Russ to have confidence that he is the job, and then kind of boost that confidence that maybe he won the job, because I think that's important right now. You could talk about Russ as a veteran, but it doesn't matter. Like, Russ is coming off of some tough years in the NFL, and everything you can do to boost this guy's confidence is going to be significant. So you have to look at it and say that if you can do that, and this is a twofold win, I think that works out very well for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think I agree with you. I don't think that they will make it a real competition, but I do think that they will start to split reps a little bit more evenly come Latrobe. Not for the entire circuit of training camp, but just from time to time. You'll see it every couple of days where Justin Fields will take first team reps over Russ, just like, Kenny and Mason did from time to time. And Justin will work 2-minute drills from time to time when Russ was primarily working the 2-minute drills. You'll see that kind of stuff. It won't be real, but it'll boost the confidence. And at the same time, it does a lot for, you go into the season for some reason, whether it's injury or whatever, you have to make a change. You give him reps with guys like George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth and et cetera.
Yeah. It's not going to mean anything, but man, we're going to talk about it when it does
all
happen.
The time. It's never going to be off the air.
Right. It is going to be the biggest story especially for the Steelers, but maybe even around the league too. There's going to be so many quarterback competition headlines, question mark. And it's going to be a fun time when those headlines come out and we got to be like, but maybe not.
Yeah. No, I've already been told. I've had conversations with Sports Illustrated and the NFL director there and everything, kind of game planning for training camp. They wanted me to start it in OTAs, and I said I can't do that. I just way too early. I got things to do, man. I just don't have time.
Yeah.
I'll be tracking every single pass, because sometimes you just got to do what you're told to do, and what I was told to do was track every single pass that Justin Fields and Russell Wilson make. And the last time I did that was the Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett year. And it's fun for like a week. Like, you're sitting there, you're like, all right, this is awesome. You're seeing how these guys really compete and who's having better days and so on and so forth. By the end of training camp, you're like, all right, dude, Justin Fields went 17 for 18 and Russell Wilson went 20 for 23, and they both threw a touchdown, and who cares? Like, we know who the starting quarterback is. Either way, it will make every single headline. It will be on your ESPN and your NFL Network and your everywhere else every single day. All Steelers talk. We'll hopefully be a little bit more realistic about the situation, but I think that's what helps when you're actually on the field and boots on the ground in Latrobe. I agree with that. All right, we're diving into OTAs. Week 3 starts tomorrow. We'll have 3 days. At this point, you're kind of seeing veterans not show up anymore, and that's totally understandable. TJ Watt's flying from every country to every country in Europe, hopefully enjoying his time. George Pickens wasn't there last week. Still haven't seen Cam Hayward. You're just seeing these guys, like Mike Tomlin says, sometimes it's more beneficial for these veterans not to show up because you get a better understanding of the younger guys and the guys who need to adjust to an offense or a defense. And I mean, for us, it's kind of given us an opportunity to see guys like Anthony Everett and Beanie Bishop and, what they can do in the slot cornerback role and have an understanding of, maybe it's not the best. Cordero Patterson doesn't show up and you're watching Scotty Miller and Van Jefferson and Quez Watkins, more Quez Callaway, just looking at it going, okay, who's making noise, who's not making noise, how can you do these things? I think it helps tremendously to kind of put your eyes when the veterans are not there, especially when guys like Russ and Justin are on the field, which helps because you get to see what they look like, what these guys look like when an actual quarterback is leading the way. We're heading into week 3, 3 days, 3 final days of OTAs, and then minicamp will start next week. Who is your one guy? What is your one name that you have your eye on when we get back to the South Side tomorrow?
Yeah, my name is Peyton Wilson, who I didn't get a ton of chances to watch during week 1. Started to notice him a bit more during week 2, and that's where he kind of jumped off the page, especially as a coverage guy. I think we knew about his speed, and that really showed up when these guys, aren't in pads and everything, but he's being left out there on an island in 7-on-7 drills, having to cover Pat Freiermuth, having to cover slot receivers, and he held up really well. I was pretty impressed with that element of his game. So I just think in a world where, Cole Holcomb's still recovering from his injury, it's a little bit of a question mark when he's going to actually be ready. I think there's a possibility that he's maybe not ready for week 1. And that's a big moment that's a big question for Peyton Wilson's development. Is he going to have to be, ready to be a contributor behind it? Like, he's their inside linebacker 3 right now with Cole Holcomb not there. I would say, all the respect in the world to Mark Robinson, but don't think he's out in front of Peyton Wilson at this point. So I think, seeing how Wilson develops, seeing if he's ready for, that rotation role right away, week 1, first game of his NFL career, is he going to be ready to go? Is he going to be a capable backup for the Steelers, especially, when defenses try to spread them out? Because, you look at him versus a Landon Roberts. Like, who are you more comfortable covering in space? I would say Peyton Wilson at this point. Like, you could maybe use him in some special situations. You could maybe make him a regular part of the defense, but he's got to show some stuff during OTAs and then use that as a springboard into training camp before I think you feel real confident about throwing him out there as your kind of inside linebacker 3.
I like that. I like Peyton Wilson a lot. I think that's a name that he hasn't been under the radar, but there's so much going on right now that you're not staring at what pace Peyton Wilson does, but he looks good. He looks the part. That's the thing, is you watch him walking around in the locker room, you see him on the field. A lot of these rookies come in and you're like, oh, you're tiny. You're not built for the position yet. You got this development, that development. Peyton Wilson walks out there and you're like, that guy looks like a linebacker. He looks like he could do this. He looks like he's got the size and the speed to make this work. I agree with you. I don't have expectations for Cole Holcomb yet. I hope that he's out there for week 1, but I don't think anybody can expect him to be out there for week 1 just yet. Peyton Wilson's going to take on a much bigger role than maybe he was believed to take on when they drafted him or when we went into this offseason, and that is significant. You want to know how good that is. And I think that's for a number of reasons. For one, Landon Roberts is a phenomenal linebacker, and I think he is one of the most underrated guys, maybe in the AFC, because what he did last year was unbelievable. Yeah. But he's not a guy that you're going to put out there for all 3 downs. He's not a guy that you're going to put out there for passing downs. You want Peyton Wilson to develop into that guy. Peyton Wilson's been working at the dime, which is significant. And if he's that role, I want to see how far he could take those steps, how early he can progress. I think that's big as well. So I agree with you. I think Peyton Wilson is a big name for the Pittsburgh Steelers and an exciting one. Like, you talk about the rookies right now, and Roman Wilson is a guy, and Logan Lee is a guy, Troy Fautanu and Zach Frazier, cool, exciting, but what's all right, cool, that was awesome. Looked really good, man. It looked really fluid. Peyton Wilson's a dude that sleeps. He's a sleeper in that group, but also has probably a chance to make just as big of an impact as any of them. And I agree with you. I'd like to see what he brings. My name is, I don't know. I want to. I have two of them. I'll toss. I know it's the one name, and my first one is like the name one name. My second one is like this is a generic, corny answer that shouldn't count. So, but you have to toss it out there anyways. My first one is Darnell Washington. I'm very interested to see what Darnell Washington continues to bring to the Steelers. I mean, you talked to him the other day. He was talking about how he's developing as a pass catcher and a route runner, and how he's more involved in the offense. He sees a breakout year coming for himself. I want to see everything that Darnell Washington could bring to the Pittsburgh Steelers and how much he really can develop in year 2, because I think he is the tight end 2 for the Steelers, and I think he's a phenomenal run blocker. And I mean, that role alone, I think, is worthy of praise. But if he's looking to be more involved in the passing game, let's see it. You know, I want to really keep my eye on Darnell Washington and see what he's capable of doing, because again, you're watching these pass catchers and you're watching Pat Freiermuth, you're watching Calvin Austin, you're watching Quez Watkins and Van Jefferson and Scotty Miller, because and Roman Wilson, because you don't know who's going to emerge. You're not keeping your eye on Darnell Washington. I would like to see what Darnell Washington brings to the table.
Yeah, and you know, if you're going to unlock the best parts of Darnell Washington's game, which is his abilities as a run blocker, you know, he's a mountain of a man. Like,
yes,
if you're going to get that best part of him, he has to be able to catch the football. You know, you can't just leave him out there. You can't just, you know, sub him in and out whenever you're going to run the football. Like, that's too obvious. It exposes him, exposes the offense. He's got to be a threat in multiple ways for him to be a real regular part of the offense in the way that I think he's hoping to. So, you know, he said he's improving as a route runner, like you said. I would love to see that. This is the time to show it, I think, really, is show off the agility when everyone's not in pads and everything like that. And then once you do that, remind us that you are this imposing run blocker once you do get those pads on and you can show off your power and you can show off your size. That's the key for Darnell Washington. Like, these are a pretty big next couple weeks for him to be able to show that not only are his hands a little bit better, but his route running, he's able to get open. He's able to, like I said, just be a complete offensive player, not just kind of a one-trick pony in the way that he was during his rookie season.
I agree. My second name is a very generic, corny name, doesn't count, whatever. Justin Fields. Justin Fields took a pretty big step forward last week, I think. I think week 1, he was very sporadic, all over the place. It was, that was a abysmal throw to Justin Fields just did something pretty cool, you know? And I think Russell Wilson has been pretty consistent the entire time. I want to see Justin Fields go back-to-back consistent weeks. That's what I want of Justin Fields. I want every day to watch Justin Fields go, all right, there were less crazy throws there, more accuracy, this or that. I want to see a better week out of Justin Fields every week that passes, and my eyes will obviously be glued to him, because you're, even anybody who's out there, you're watching Russ, but you kind of know what to expect from Russ. When Justin Fields is out there running the offense, I think everybody pays a little bit more attention. And sometimes it's like, oh, that was awesome. And sometimes you're like, ooh, that was rough. And I want to see the, ooh, that was rough, go away.
Yeah. Yeah, you absolutely see all the best parts of Fields' potential out there.
Yes.
But you want to see him, like, let's put this potential into, you know, real positive plays. Let's, you know, keep the ball off the ground a little bit more. Let's make some good decisions. That's the stuff that I think you're really looking for in week 2. I thought he kind of showed some signs that he was developing a little bit more chemistry with his receivers. There were, you know, fewer kind of timing mistakes and things like that. But you just want to see that take another step forward. Now I want to see, you know, like you said, the consistency is the biggest thing with Fields. Like, we know what the talent is. We know what kind of potential that he has, but you need to actually, you know, string positive plays together, string drives together. That's the other thing. Like, we haven't seen really either of these quarterbacks challenged in a kind of, you know, game-like scenario, you know, where the consistency is the most important thing, where you can't fall behind the sticks at all, can't create negative plays. I would just, right now is when the consistency is really, really important, and it's only going to get even more important as practices ramp up, the intensity gets ramped up, and the practices get a little bit more serious.
Yeah, this is the time of year where everybody should look good. Mike Tomlin says it all the time. If you look bad right now, that's an issue. And I think quarterback's a very difficult position, but also right now you should look pretty good, especially if you're guys like Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. And I'm not saying they've looked bad. Neither of them have looked bad by no means. They're both in the category of good. I want to see Justin Fields get a little bit better every single day that passes. with that said, we're going to head out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. And as we've been saying, please go check out our new YouTube channel, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk clips for even more of the show. We will be back tomorrow. Enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.